Yes, sir. Welcome back to Talkin Nets, episode 43. Keith McPherson and Hudson Flynn coming to you on a Wednesday night, the eve of the NBA bubble, the eve of the NBA restart for real. Not scrimmages. They count tomorrow. I'm pumped for it. I'm excited for it. Hudson, how you feeling, bro? Say what's up to the people.
Oh, let's go, Keith. This is big stuff. We have big stuff happening. We have been covering the Nets and doing all of this work, all these podcasts of over nothing for the past, 4 months. We've been grinding, we've been pushing all to get back to this point. We know it's about next season. We know it's about 2021 for the Brooklyn Nets. But for this podcast, we put in all this work to get to this point. We've got real games to talk about again. We haven't had real games to talk about since March, since we recorded the day after, the night after, everything got canceled. And now we're back months later, almost to August, ready to go, ready to kill it, ready to finish it, Keith.
Man, it's crazy to think about. Episode 43. I don't know what we're going to title this yet, but I'll figure that out. We've come a long way. It's been a roller coaster, up and down, some waves with the league, with the show, when we're recording the show, what we're going to talk about on the show, how we're going to deliver the show, what are the segments going to be. And like you said, for a while, we were sitting here making it up, man. We were sitting here trying to figure it out. We had different people pop on. We had different things that we talked about. But now all that's done. Now we're going to actually have real games to talk about. We're going to have real stats and just like things that count that we're going to actually be able to, speak about on the pod. And I feel like it's been so long, but it hasn't. It's been like 4.5 months. And I don't know, it's good to be back. So let's get right into it with What's Now. First segment, What's Now, talking about what's now in the NBA. Let me check my notes. There's a bunch. I don't know. Jack Harlow's in my notes. Tom Thibodeau's in my notes. David West, Zion, LeBron, Harden. Let's start with Jack Harlow and Lou Will. We talked about this on Talkin Sports. Go listen to Talkin Sports. If you don't listen to Talkin Sports, you should go listen to Talkin Sports under John Boy Media. Hudson, what'd you think when you heard about Lou Will stepping out of the bubble to go to Magic City and running into rapper Jack Harlow?
Man, you knew some whack shit was going to happen with this bubble. I didn't think it was going to happen outside of the bubble. I didn't have Jack Harlow showing up on my bingo card. I didn't think of all people that Lou Will was going to go out and clown, go to a strip club, do whatever he did. He came out, he said, I was just there for the food. I've never been to a strip club, so I don't know about strip club food. So I did some research. I looked into it. I went to the Twitter account and went to his Twitter account, and I'm looking at the food, and they got some good stuff. It looks a lot better than I was expecting. So, I'm a Lou Will stan. I think he's a good player. I like the way he plays. He plays hard. I think he's not going to clown around, especially with championship aspirations. I really do think my boy was just going to get some food at the strip club, and I'm down with it. It's whatever. Maybe he shouldn't have. Maybe he shouldn't have, jeopardized the bubble. I know he has to quarantine now. But listen, he went out there and he did what he had to do. And I'm not too crazy about it. I got no particular feelings, if I'm being completely honest. Good for him. Good for that strip club, getting all that free promotion.
No harm, no foul. I don't really care. I have already heard about the food there, seen the pictures of the food there. Never been there. One day I will go. But I said on Talkin Sports, what threw me off was Jack Harlow. Jack Harlow, why would you post a picture on your Instagram story saying you'll never guess where I'm at with Lou Will and then delete it and tweet out, oh, that was a throwback picture? Dumb. Like, some of these guys are rock dumb. I don't know how they become successful being that dumb. All right, on to the next thing. The Knicks tape, the other team in town, finally have hired their head coach. Congrats for the Knicks. They hired Tom Thibodeau this week. And I don't know what you think about this, but on Talkin Sports, we talked about this, and this is the last time I'll reference Talkin Sports. But I know there's some crossover here. I know people listen to both. I said over under 4 years for Tom Thibodeau as the Knicks head coach. What do you think about that?
Man, as soon as he got hired, I put out a tweet. I said over under 1.5 years. You
So
you
you're
look at the way
under.
Knicks have been hiring and firing coach. They've had 6 head coaches in the last 5 years. I'm hammering the under on the amount of time that Tom Thibodeau is going to be the head coach. I don't think he's finishing out his contract. I
Yeah.
don't think he's even getting close to that. I am so happy and a little sad that Kenny Atkinson didn't get the Knicks job. On one hand, I love Kenny, wish him all the success, think he's a great coach, but I think he's a great coach, and I think he's the perfect fit for that Knicks team. So I'm happy that he didn't get it because I don't want the Knicks to be anything good. But they hire Tommy Thibodeau, they hire Mr. 40 minutes a night. We're going to see a whole lot of RJ Barrett, a whole lot of Mitchell Robinson, a whole lot of whoever they get in this year's draft. All the best. This is Talking Nets. This isn't Talking Knicks. Go listen to Talking Knicks if you don't. I don't know why you'd listen to a Nets podcast if you want to listen to a Knicks podcast, but whatever. Go do what you got to do. They do good stuff out there. That's for them to talk about. Honestly, it's whatever to me. I don't think it's going to go well, but if it does, so what? The Nets are the team in town. The Nets are the team with the aspirations, so no worries here.
Yeah, I'll say it quickly. I think this was a hire more for the media. I think this was more of that, like, we need to hire a big name and make a splash. I also don't think he's the right guy for the team as currently constructed. I think he's going to need to bring his own guys in, guys that he can be hard on, guys that he can run into the ground. I don't think these young guys are going to be built for his style. But I will say that the Knicks have to figure out a way in the next 3 to 4 years to not be on the back page of the paper and try and make the front page of the paper, because we all know the Brooklyn Nets are going to be the ticket in town. We're going to be one of the top teams in the East. Everybody in the basketball world is going to be talking about New York, and it's not going to be at Madison Square Garden. It's going to be at the Barclays Center. So good luck with them. Knicks, Tommy Tibbs, William Wesley, whoever. I really don't care too much about it. A lot will be seen. And, of course, hammer the under on whether it's, 2 years, 3 years. I think they give him at least 2 years to figure it out. We'll see what that third year holds. I don't think he's going to make it to a fourth year. And you know who else doesn't think he's going to make it to a fourth year? One, David West. You guys know David West. Played for the Spurs, played for Golden State, played for the Hornets. David West says, literally destroys guys. He says literally destroys guys. Vets get chance after chance. I don't know what that exactly means, but David West came out on Twitter and said some things. Former champion David West weighs in on the Knicks hiring a Tom Thibodeau. So right there, as soon as the Knicks hire him, a former player is saying he destroys guys. He runs guys into the ground. But like I said, this is the Knicks. It's on brand with the Knicks. They're trying to make a splash hire, and they got to do something in New York to get on the front page and not be on the back page. And I think he's good for the media, and I think he's good because he's got that hard-ass mentality where, like, this is New York. It's a tough town, tough city. He'll be good in the media as the figurehead, but they're not winning shit. They're not winning any games.
David West, he proved their point. If they're going for a media hire, David West coming out and saying all this stuff, it's not the best look. Also, shout out David West. He's a Jersey boy. He played in the A-10. Fordham is a proud member of the A-10, the losingest member of the A-10 all time. So you gotta represent your college basketball affiliation.
What else is going on in the bubble? Okay, so no positive test. And this week, some of you guys obviously are baseball fans, John Boy Media. There were some positive tests in MLB on Monday, and it kind of put some things on hold. The Yankees lost 2 games, they postponed 2 games for the Yankees, and it had people in the baseball world thinking, man, we should have done a bubble like the NBA. The NBA is looking good out here. No positive tests. Guys like Zion have come back. They're cleared to play. Guys like James Harden, who originally had tested positive, was cleared to play. And now we see him actively playing, giving everybody buckets. Right now I'm watching NBA TV. He's playing against the Celtics. He's been going off. He looks good. I'm excited to see what, the beard brings. And last from what's now the king, LeBron James. LeBron James usually goes blackout mode. And he says for this, he's not turning his phone off. Did you catch anything with that with LeBron?
The only thing that I caught about LeBron was that Skip Bayless put out a tweet and said, now on his TV show, we're talking about LeBron's beard. and about how it's gray and about how he's getting old. So that's all. That's my LeBron news. The dumbest
Platinum.
headline grabbing stuff. Anything about LeBron is going to be a headline. I think this is the same thing. Just saying whatever because you can get clicks. LeBron's always going to get clicks.
The thing with LeBron, all right, so they're talking about LeBron's beard, platinum beard, whatever. But with LeBron, usually he goes like blackout mode, dark mode, and he doesn't do social media during the playoffs. What he said was a couple things. He's not doing that because in this current climate, he's got to check in on his family, and in the bubble situation, like it's not like he's going home every night. And then also he's trying to stay on this like socially conscious stuff. The first interview we saw, he did a lot of talking about Breonna Taylor. He also spoke about how Black Lives Matter isn't a movement, it's a lifestyle. People want the movement to end, but they don't realize like every day this is real life for people. So I like LeBron being conscious of the moment, also not turning his phone off. I never really liked that. I always thought like, hey, you focusing on basketball is one thing, but you don't have to completely leave social media. And I don't know, he's really playing into this like king thing, this washed king thing. I'm pretty sure he had a throne that he was sitting on when he got interviewed. So there's a lot of hype going around with the NBA and the Clippers and the Lakers. Obviously, they're the favorites. I can't wait to see it get started. We get Clippers, Lakers tomorrow. All right, now let's go to what's next. Hudson, you can lead us into it.
We're talking about getting clicks. We're talking about our next segment on what's next. Talking about Kyrie. Well, we're talking about LeBron and people putting out LeBron headlines for clicks. We've had some experience with people putting out headlines for clicks relating to certain players, and we're talking about that guy, the man himself, Kyrie Irving, the disruptor, as some have called him. A lot of people spewing hate, but you can't hate what Kyrie has been doing, since he's been hurt, since the bubble, since everything has happened. This year, and this is from official NBA Buzz on Twitter, and Bleacher Report also put out a post about it. He's donated 323,000 and 250,000 meals to help New York City during the pandemic. He donated 200,000 Beyond Burgers to the food bank, during this COVID economic crisis. He started a $1.5 million fund to support WNBA players who opted out. A lot of news has come out about players opting out because they have to for health reasons, and then the WNBA not necessarily providing them with that financial support that they might need to, be able to fall back on because they're not paid like these NBA players, and they don't necessarily have that cushion, have that golden parachute that a lot of these NBA players have. He produced a TV show, calling for justice for Breonna Taylor that was on just a couple of days ago, and he donated 50,000 masks. So you want to talk about things that you need clicks for when you're talking about Kyrie. This is something that people need to talk about, but people aren't talking about it. Why do you think that is, Keith?
Because ESPN has guys like Kendrick Perkins who make a living off of hating on guys like Kyrie, and they want to paint him out as the disruptor, the villain, the bad teammate, the cancer, the grim reaper. But they don't want to talk about real life. They don't want to talk about off the court, quietly, what this guy is doing to make a change and impact in this world. And I'm proud of Kyrie. Jersey stand up, Duke Blue Devils, Brooklyn Nets. Obviously, I'm a Kyrie guy all the way. And you know what I want to say last about Kyrie? I know that Kobe is proud. I know that Kobe's looking down and he's seeing what Kyrie's doing, and he's not worrying about what Kyrie could be doing in a bubble or worrying about his hoops. He's looking at Kyrie as a young man, as a leader, and saying, wow, this guy has stepped up for the WNBA. He stepped up for our people. He's just literally leading by example, and I hope more guys can follow his lead. And this is the same guy that said, hey, right now is not the time potentially to be going to this bubble. Let's figure out a way to, put our funds and our voices and stuff to good use. And he did all this donating. He had that Breonna Taylor special that I watched with Jamel Hill and Common, and it was impactful. It was very impactful. So the thing about Kyrie, man, he's like, the truther, the flat earther, this all-seeing eye type of guy. I know that, one, he's focused on what he's got to do right now. And two, he's going to come back when it's time, and he's going to kill. He's going to watch this NBA bubble. He's going to, keep rehabbing and working. And when it's time for him to step back on that court, he's not going to forget what y'all said. He's going to be looking for revenge.
That's facts. That's facts. Kyrie's not messing around on the court, off the court. He doesn't play into what the media stereotype is of him. He doesn't care about none of that. All he does is do what he thinks is right, what he knows in his heart is right. And it's hard to argue with what he has been doing and hard to say that that isn't right.
Yeah, I mean, he's been putting his money up, and you could put your money up too. Got to put it out there. DraftKings, John Boy Media, it's a thing. DraftKings and John Boy Media are running out here now that baseball's back, basketball is back. You got to get on DraftKings. If you're a Jersey guy, you know sports gambling, sports betting, completely legal over here. If you're in New Jersey, if you're in New York, I don't think that you can gamble on sports, but I don't live in New York. But check me out. Now that we've got baseball back, now that we've got basketball back, this is how you get in with DraftKings, America's top-rated sports book. Take advantage of the Grand Slam offer, right? This is the first thing you got to do. Just put a pregame bet of at least $25 on your home team. And for every home run, every bucket they score, $5 will be added to your account in a free bet. Additionally, DraftKings Sportsbook is offering all new users a sign-up bonus of up to $1,000. Don't worry, if baseball isn't your game, DraftKings offers great odds and promotions on all sports, ranging from ping pong to basketball to everything else in between, soccer, whatever you want to find. DraftKings Sportsbook is U.S.-based, making it safe, secure, and reliable. Plus, it's easy to deposit straight up like FanDuel. It's a no-go. I don't even bother with FanDuel anymore. They don't want to take your money. DraftKings, easy to deposit and withdraw your funds whenever you want. You can cash out. So download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use code JOMBOY, JOMBOY, when you sign up. I don't know if you've already got an account. Maybe you use another email, another device, but go on and put promo code JOMBOY, JOMBOY, in for a limited time, and you'll get a signing bonus of up to $1,000. Last time, that's code JOMBOY. Get your signing bonus of up to $1,000 only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Got to be 21 or older. New Jersey only for the sports betting. Your bonus is comprised of the first deposit bonus and a first bet match up to $500. Deposit bonus requires 25 times playthrough. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you got a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Now, back to the scrimmages. The Nets played the Spurs. The Nets played the Jazz. When we last recorded last week, we got washed. We got worked. And it wasn't really much to even talk about. We had, like Hudson said, we had 9 guys. We couldn't really run. We lost by 31 to the Pelicans. Man, let's talk about these games, Hudson. Let's start with the Spurs game. Hudson covers the games on Twitter for us. So if you're seeing the clips come out, the highlights come out, that's Hudson doing the work. Most of the time, it's going to be Hudson. He kills it. He's good at it, and I try to amplify from my account. So, Hudson, what were you thinking? Let's talk a little bit about the Spurs game first.
Man, watch this Spurs game. I was happy because, like you said, I am the one that puts out all this stuff, and I had stuff to put out.
Yeah.
That was something that I did not get to have in that Pelicans game. I got clip after clip. We got a lot of great performers. It was a win. But like we talked about in the last game, if we're going to say it in the last game, we have to say it in this one. It's still a scrimmage. You can't read into it too much. It's still a Spurs team that isn't necessarily in, guaranteed a spot in the playoffs. So you still have to look at it as, good signs, some good positives. We had Karis LeVert put up 27 points in 22 minutes. He showed that he's still balling. He's still playing well. It was nice to see him get a lot of run on Bleacher Report and these other websites that don't necessarily cover the Nets that much. And we had some other good performances. We had Tyler Johnson and Rhodey both put up 17 points. Rhodey was 3 of 3 from deep in the first half, which I thought was huge. He was hitting them from real deep. He was deep behind the arc. He was making him splash with that rainbow jump shot he has. And Jared put up a double-double, 10 points, 11 rebounds. So good signs against a Spurs team that is certainly more healthy than us, certainly has more players than us. And if you're going to take positives or negatives from a scrimmage, it's good to take a couple of positives from this one.
It's a win. That's what I was hoping for. Just a bounce back game, potentially a win. The Spurs, they have a better coach than us. They have better players than us. They have more players than us, talented players. You know, it is what it is. But this is a scrimmage. All I was looking for was us to show some fight and come back. And we took an early lead. But like we responded, and that shows that there's fight. That shows that these guys care. If they showed up after getting beat by the Pelicans by 31 points and laid down again, I would have been like, these guys don't give a fuck about this. Like, they're out in Orlando. They can't wait to come home. But no, Karis LeVert was shooting, leading the way. And like you said about Bleacher Report and these other outlets covering him, people know when you're looking at this team, like, he's the star of this team. He's the focal point of this team. He's the guy that everyone should be watching and zeroed in on, especially without Jamal Crawford on the court. But, yeah, you know, we got off to a good start, early lead. He was hot. Tyler Johnson, I'm enjoying watching Tyler Johnson. The guy shoots it. He lets it rip. In the Spurs game, he put up some shots. He was not hesitating. He was just, you know, shooting in rhythm and emotion. You know, I was listening to the broadcast, and I caught Sarah Kustok and Iron Eagle give Mr. Whammy a shout out. So I don't know if you're listening, Mr. Whammy. You know, you're on the broadcast still. I know you can't go to the games, and you might not be able to go to the games for a long time, but they're keeping Mr. Whammy in the minds of Nets fans. Rody with a dab of ranch. Man, Rody needed this, like, Orlando bubble. We'll talk about it a little more going into the Utah series or the Utah scrimmage, but Rody was raining threes, and he's shooting these threes from deep with confidence. I'm like, man, like, this is what some of these guys needed to boost their confidence a little bit. I think he had like 3 in a row, and then once guys were coming out to guard him, he like took them to the bucket. So that was good. Second quarter, we stopped playing like as tight of defense. Spurs went up a little bit. We get to half, and then we come back out in the half, and it shows me again. I don't know if it's Jacques Vaughn. I don't know if it's Karis. I don't know if there's team leadership. Like, Karis came out hot. Garrett Temple came out hot. He had some shots fall. And, you know, we just kind of had that momentum, and it looked like these guys cared about playing. Maybe the Spurs didn't care as much. Maybe the Spurs were taking it as a scrimmage. New guys out there like Justin Anderson, Jeremiah Martin. I like what I see out of these guys. Like, they want to be there. They're not afraid. They're shooting the ball. They're going for it. Even Lance Thomas. Lance Thomas just joined this team, who knows, 2 weeks ago. And it's like, he's a veteran. He's ready. He's not missing a beat. These guys all got buckets. And it's good to get a win after having the biggest scrimmage blowout the NBA had. So let's go into the Utah game. Michael Grady was on this call, filling in. He
was on the call for the fans for only about 3 quarters. Though.
I don't know what was that, bro. So like my Fox Sports Go app on my Apple TV, it said, 2 days before, it said 5:30 Utah Jazz versus the Nets, and then it just wouldn't, like, you click on it, it wouldn't pop up. And then I did see the Yes Network tweet out a link with the stream, but I think most Nets fans missed this. I also have NBA TV through Fubo. Shout out Fubo. Used to work at Fubo. They're solid. I was able to watch it on NBA TV, but I know a lot of people missed it. Like, what was your situation up in New York?
Yeah, you got lucky. You're across the river. You're in Jersey, so you didn't get the blackout, which I think is kind of a dumb way to draw the line to give someone a blackout. If I'm in the Bronx and you're in Jersey City doesn't have the blackout, but the Bronx does. I don't know what's up with that. It was tough if you were watching us on Twitter, if you were looking at all the clips we were putting out. I was putting it out with the Jazz feed, so we had the Jazz announcers. And let me just say, shout out to the Yes Network, shout out to Grady, shout out to everyone. Boy, they are just so much better than the competition.
Yeah.
Than these, there's so much dead air on all of these other commentators. They're not talking. They're not excited. I was working. I was mixing together a little mixtape from that last game that we put out yesterday, and I had to take some of the commentary and use commentary from old Nets games that had like similar plays, because a lot of the commentators weren't coming with any heat. They were just saying what was happening in a monotone voice.
Yeah. And
I don't love that. And I like the energy that we get from those Yes commentators. So even if we only got them for 3 quarters, that's still good stuff. Yes
Network. I know we probably sound like we kissed the Yes Network's ass, but it's not even that. Like, we're really not even like I'm watching NBA TV all day. So I get to see, like, right now I have NBC Sports Boston on. I also, like I said, have Fubo TV. So I get NBC Philadelphia. I know the Denver Nuggets have been zooming their broadcast in. What I'll say about the Emmy-winning Yes Network, again, is they're taking this thing seriously. They are executing and delivering a high-quality broadcast and call of the game, and it's awesome to see. So, all right, let's talk actually about the game. We know the broadcast was lit. We know that they did their job, even though most of the fans missed it. The first thing I was thinking watching this game was, can we trade for Rudy Gobert? Like, do they not want him anymore? Do the Jazz not want this dude? Like Donovan Mitchell, I don't see them breaking that up. But remember, during this whole coronavirus thing, we have that video that will live in infamy of Gobert touching the mics. And then we have Donovan Mitchell coming out and saying, once he got the coronavirus, that their relationship was, kind of broken. And, I think the Jazz were talking about at some point moving him. I would love to see if we could get Rudy Gobert. I don't know if he's on the trade market, but he's a beast. He balled on us. No, we had no answers for him. Donovan Mitchell either. What did you think about this game? Let's just give me your, I guess, in the beginning of the game, and then we'll talk about the end of the game.
Well, it was clear that this team was obviously more talented than the Nets. They're more talented. They had all their pieces. They had all their players. They had that cohesion that the Nets obviously didn't have. That didn't lead to, a Pelican-style defeat, which I love from the Nets. We saw some good performances. Karras kept his momentum going. He put up 23 points in limited minutes, and that's one thing I've noticed. They're not playing him the whole way. They know he's their star. He's not going to have to play all these minutes in these preseason games. So he put up a good game in limited minutes. And you're talking about Gobert, but I'm going to talk about Jarrett Allen because he was my player of the game, going up against Rudy Gobert. And Jarrett Allen was a starter, got starter minutes, got those minutes all matched up with Gobert. And he put up 19 points and 10 rebounds. So as good as Gobert was, I loved what I saw from Jarrett Allen. He didn't foul out early. He didn't do anything like that. He was able to play against a much bigger, a much stronger, a much better player and come out with a great performance. And I think that's huge for him and huge for his confidence, because when you see Jarrett Allen playing with that confidence, it's a different player. It's if we could inject that Zanan Musa confidence into Jarrett Allen, we'd have the next beast on our hands. And I think we saw some of that. We saw him get mad. We saw him, throw down some dunks. And I was pretty happy to see that. I think he was obviously a bright spot. And I think the last thing we'll say, we talked about Rhodey before. He was consistent. Another good game, 13 points, 6 rebounds. He did his thing. He hit some more rainbow threes. He even hit a little baseline floater right at the end of the game when we were, fighting to see if we could come back in that last minute. He came up with a hurt ankle, but he ended up being all right. And that was good. That was what I like to see. He made that clutch shot in late minutes. And if Rhodey wants to stay on this team, he's going to have to be able to do that. He's going to have to bring back that rookie year form that he had. That was really good for us.
Yeah, I will give Jarrett Allen some love. He was working, and I am starting to see a little bit more of a mean streak toughness out of him, and that's what we've needed for him to show. He's a big dog. We don't need him to be a gentle giant. Now, him and Karras went to work this game separately and together. I like how they look. Pick and roll, just working together. I like that these two, they know that they're the only ones from really, they're the only ones from the starting lineup. Now Joe is out there too, but they're the only guys that had faced these teams. We played the Jazz twice this year. We played them at home. We lost 118-107, and it was a close game. Then we played them on the road, and I think it was the 118-107 game. Then we played them close at home, and it was 118-114 or 119-114 I have in my notes. So, we've been on the court with these guys before. This is nothing new. Donovan Mitchell is one of the best players in the league, one of the best young players in the league. The Jazz are one of the best teams in the league. That's fact. So, the fact that we are playing with Jeremiah Martin, we're playing with Justin Anderson, we're playing with Tyler Johnson, guys that have never played together, and we're staying with these teams. I know it's a scrimmage, but we're staying with these teams. We were within a bucket late in the game. We had a chance to win it late in the game. I thought we were going to come back and steal it. I can't be mad at it. I'm cool with what I'm seeing in these scrimmages. We have not even seen the God J crossover on the court yet. What else? Rhodey. Once again, Rhodey with a dab of ranch. Emphasis on Rhodey because he's been on. My boy needed this. I feel like we're starting to see what we saw from Rhodey last year. He's starting to get into his form from last season before he had all the other, things getting away. So I was a little concerned at the end of that game where he landed awkwardly because I'm like, oh, here we go. Like, a guy starts, coming into his own a little bit and he gets hurt. That would suck. But reports say that he's fine. Tyler Johnson, another shout out to him. Looks good. I like that number 8 jersey on him. Took that jersey right from, Spencer Dinwiddie hanging it up. My favorite number is 8. I used to rock that Darren Williams jersey faithfully. But, yeah, man, it's good to see him out there. I just think he needs to, like, clean up his fro, his stash, his look a little bit. He's type goofy, but it's good to have him. Who else? What else I got here? Cornrow, Karras, and Headband Harris. That's what I'm going with for those guys. I thought it was kind of weird, but, like, I don't mind it. And I know people listening to this podcast don't care for him either. But Musa didn't check in until late. I think he didn't get into this game
to the fourth quarter. 8 minutes left.
Yeah, I think in my notes I have he didn't get into this game really until there was like 6.5 minutes left in the fourth. But whatever, we were fighting for the win till the end, and we end up losing, but we competed all the way to the end. And that's what you want to see in these scrimmages, right? This is the third scrimmage against the Jazz, and it's like, okay, we're 1 and 2 out of these 3 games, but we're starting to put it together more. We're battling all the way to the, like the final possession. And I'm pleased with the Nets. I am excited to see what we do this Friday against the Magic. I'm excited to see what Jamal Crawford does for this team. I see you have a question here. Who was the biggest surprise? So I'll throw it up to you for who's the biggest surprise, and then I'll tell you what I thought.
All right. My biggest surprise was Rhodey. I think that's the easy answer, and I hope I'm not taking the answer from you because when we were talking about the notes in the pre-show, you didn't give me your answer. So my biggest surprise is Rhodey, and I love that. I love that he's playing in the bubble without that kind of exterior pressure. We saw him ball out on a Nets team that no one really cared about last year, that did all these things kind of out of the blue, but they never really got much publicity for it when Rhodey was there. He made the Rising Stars game. He did all this good stuff.
Yeah.
And now he's kind of there without all of those cameras shining on him, all those bright lights, all these questions surrounding, oh, did Kyrie say that he's not one of the core players on this team? All these kinds of things. And he's able to just go out and when given that run, show that he's a good player. He's so young, and he's such a player that, like, can heat up really quickly. I mean, I love that deep rainbow 3 that he takes, and he's taking it with confidence. And he's also playing as a backup 5. Without Donta Hall in the game, he's our backup center, and he's holding his own, and he's stepping out, and he's playing like a stretch 5. And think about how much help that's going to give him with, next year, whatever team he's on. Hopefully he's on the Nets for me. He's playing that stretch 4 role. He's going to be able to play inside with those bigger players like he's learning how to now, but he's still going to have that step out game that's going to be lethal coming off the bench with, teams that are tired and teams that are, having to run at 1,000 miles an hour the entire game trying to keep up with KD, Kyrie, Karras. So I like what I saw. I love what I saw. I think that him playing the way he's playing is earning him a spot on next year's team, even if it is only the scrimmages. Obviously, we need to see if the play continues. But from what I've seen so far, very surprising, and I'm very happy with the way he played.
Yeah, we can't forget that these guys are auditioning for next year. These guys are literally trying to play in Orlando, play well, and make it onto the team next year. We also can't forget how many guys we are missing. DeAndre Jordan, Nick Claxton, Taurean Prince. I was going to say Kyrie and KD, but you obviously know them. Spencer Dinwiddie. Like, we're missing majority of the players that played last year and that are going to play. So this is a complete different team that the NBA is seeing. This is a complete different team that's being rolled out. And I will say, I'll throw Jeremiah Martin out there as my biggest surprise. Late in that game against the Jazz, the scrimmage against the Jazz, this guy was thinking he was Spencer Dinwiddie. He had the ball in his hands. He was going for it. He got his pocket pick late on that possession that we had where we could have tied it. But, like, I don't know, man. I imagine these guys playing against a team like the Jazz, one of the best teams in the West with stars, like there being some type of intimidation. And there's no fear. Even like Chris Chiozza, he's the smallest guy on the court. He's comfortable. He's right at home. He's doing his thing. So biggest surprise I'll say is Jeremiah Martin with Chiozza right behind him, and just these guys going out there and competing, knowing they're overmatched, knowing they're playing with superstars, and knowing they're no names but not backing down, not bowing down. So that bodes well for when these games do count in a day, and when we are getting into competition and these guys aren't backing down from anything and they're not laying down, like, it's good to see that this Nets team wants to be in Orlando and they want to compete in Orlando, and they're not just there because they have to be.
That's what I like to see. This Nets team, and this is almost a weird analogy, but they give me those, scrappy 12 seed NCAA tournament vibes. They won their conference tournament. They maybe didn't play in a big conference. They played in like the Big Sky. They give me big Loyola Chicago kind of vibes, coming out and playing, knowing no one is ever going to pick them for any of the games, knowing that no one's ever heard their names. So they can play with that kind of reckless confidence that can get you performances like we're seeing from Jeremiah Martin, from Rodions, from Chris Chiozza. And I'm excited to see it. And that's the one thing that we talked about before and we're seeing come through these scrimmages. People are playing hard and they're playing for their future. And that makes these games fun to watch, regardless of what the final score is and regardless of who we're playing against.
All right, so what's next? The scrimmages are done. There are no more scrimmages left on our schedule. You'll be listening to this podcast on Thursday, July 30th. The NBA will kick off, and the Nets will play on Friday, July 31st at 2:30 on the Yes Network. We will play the Nets, or we will play the Magic, and then Sunday we'll play at 2 o'clock. I like these afternoon games. They shouldn't interfere with baseball. We'll play the Wizards. And then Hudson and I will record another episode Sunday that you'll get Monday, and we'll get ready for the next game, which will be against the Bucks, who potentially will face in the first round if we do fall to the 8th seed. So looking at these matchups, Hudson, what do you think we're going to do against the Magic, the Wizards, and the Bucks? Do you think we're going to win all three? You think we're going to lose all three? I guess put a number out there.
I think we can take 2 of the 3. I think that those 2 first games, obviously the Magic, they're a good team. They're a fully healthy team, which is big. But the way these Nets played against the Jazz and with a Jamal Crawford and a Donta Hall who might play, I think that changes things. Jacques Vaughn did say he doesn't know for sure if they're going to play in this game on Friday, so that would be tough, if they don't play in the Magic game. But moving past that, we have the Wizards, and the Wizards are a team very similar to us with just absolutely no one on their roster, just playing for whatever. So I think that'll be a fun, scrappy game to watch. And then we're going to get smashed by the Bucks. We're going to lose by 1,000.
Yeah, I got us going 1-3. I would love for us to compete with the Magic, but I've gotten the chance to watch the Magic a little bit, and they've got a bunch of guys. They have more NBA players that they can run out there than us, and they are fighting with us for that 7th seed. They want that 7th seed, and I think they're eventually going to, be the 7th seed and go on to play Toronto and make it competitive. So I don't think we beat the Magic out of the gate that first game, and that first game is going to be the first game Jamal Crawford plays the first time some of these guys ever play together. I don't expect them to be as cohesive as the Magic. The Wizards should be just like a scrappy pickup ball game between a bunch of guys, that are just out there trying to ball out and see who's the best. And I think we should be able to beat the Wizards. And then the Bucks, I'm excited to just sit there and watch Giannis and the Bucks run against us. We'll see what that turns into, but no way do I think the Nets beat the Bucks. So I got us going 1-3 to start. I hope I'm wrong. I hope on the next podcast I say, we beat the Magic and we beat the Wizards. We're looking good out here. But that's what you got to look forward to. Man, it's crazy to think that the NBA is back. Let's wrap this thing up. Hudson, any final thoughts on the Nets, on the NBA bubble, on the NBA players, anything you've seen, anything you've heard?
Last thing I'll say is just stay excited. As Nets fans, obviously we know this isn't our year to win the championship. But we have so many things to watch, so many things to look out for, that there are reasons to be excited. There are reasons to tune in. There are reasons to keep tuning in to hear us talk. There's a lot of good stuff to watch for if you're not just watching what the final score of these games are going to be. And that's what I can say, honestly, about all sports. If you can watch for, something that's maybe not the most important thing, the final score, but if you want to watch for, in baseball, good defensive plays, in basketball, scrappy, inside drives, good defense, all these things, you can make watching it a lot more interesting. And as Nets fans, we're going to have the opportunity to just shut off the TV, check the final score after the games, and just be like, oh, whatever. It's not about this year. But enjoy it. This is something that's never happened before, and in all likelihood is never going to happen again. So enjoy everything that's weird about it. Embrace everything that you don't think is normal, and embrace this Nets team in a way that I think a lot of people aren't.
Yeah, it's history, and we are living in a live history book. This is something that you'll tell your kids about, and this is something that every year moving forward they will clip up and show highlights of and refer back to. And we hope this never happens again, but it's rare, and we're blessed to see it. The NBA leads, and everyone else will follow, like I always say, and I mean that in the fact that the NBA leads and they do their own thing. They're progressive. They figured out how to do a bubble. And then I also mean that, they're going to lead and everyone else will follow. The NBA took a hard stance on Black Lives Matter. They took a hard stance on social issues and, just making sure that their voices were heard and that they didn't duck the situation. And I saw Major League Baseball follow up and do the same thing in a way that I never thought I'd see from Major League Baseball. So wrapping this thing up, leave us a voicemail at 201-870-0461. Make sure you follow us at Talkin Nets. Follow us at John Boy Media. You can follow me at Keith McPherson. Hudson, where can they follow you?
You can follow me at Hudson Flynn _ legal names, no anonymous.
No anonymous, because we're not clowns. We're not goofballs. We stand by what we say. We are who we are, and we know that. And you should know that already, but I'll still tell you anyway in case this is your first time listening to Talkin Nets. Subscribe, rate, review if this is your first time. Subscribing is cool. We know how many people download the podcast, and we know how many people are listening, but we need people to review the pod, write a review. I don't know. We got to figure out maybe some kind of giveaway to, set up more reviews. I know that's a way people drive reviews to the pod. So how about that? Yeah. If the first person on Apple to write a review this week, and I don't know, tweet us about it. And I check the reviews before we do every pod. But sometimes if you check the review, it's not going to have the person's name. They might have a code name or like a screen name type of thing. But the first review, the first new review on Talkin Nets will get some type of merch or T-shirt from the John Boy Media shop. And I will personally hook that up for you. Get your address, get that sent out your way. That's all we've got. We will see you not next Thursday, but Monday. You'll kick off your week with some NBA talk and some Nets news and some hopefully Nets wins. I don't know. We'll see. And that's all I got. Good episode. Ready for the games to start. And when the games do start, all you're going to hear from me is, let's go Nets. Brooklyn.